Testing. Hello, hello, hello. Let's warm up with some Minesweeper. It's an exciting day today. Exciting day. Today we shall be finishing on the modern cult of Factish gods. Or sorry, finishing the first chapter of On the Modern Cult of Factish Gods. Good lord, we're not finished yet. We still have 3 more chapters. But we will be finishing that today. And because it's a short section, uh, we might be doing gender trouble afterward. So that would be fun, wouldn't it? I saw like a couple people say that they would be interested in me reading gender trouble. Um, and I would have more. I would have less to specifically ask about with gender trouble because I have already gone through it. Um, and this would be the second reading would be me trying to explain what I got out of it and trying to formulate it into like something that is, I don't know, usable by another person. Anyway, this is a forced guess already, so here, sure. Well, another forced guess. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but I wonder, um, of like all possible Minesweeper games, what is the distribution of forced guesses? I wonder how hard it would be to calculate that. Because like obviously you could just check every single one, but that seems kind of inefficient. So I wonder if anybody's. Oh, hello, hello.
Hello.
Um, sorry. I am. I was talking about Minesweeper for, so I need to switch my mode of engagement real quick.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Um, well, here we are at the end of chapter 1. Um, so the last section, um, we were basically talking. The last section that we were reading was basically about um what Latour thinks is a better direction for those who want to dispel with a given factish. Um, so instead of appealing to the language of ridding oneself of all fetishes, of emancipating self from uh from a master, he wants to say that we should instead talk about whether or not a given factish is good or bad, or useful or not useful, to some end, such that people are not, because everybody requires factishes to live and to exist even. And if you don't, if you just abolish, here's all of the things that we don't want, but then you don't say positively, this is what I think would be valuable, here is something that we can transplant onto, um that you will be failing to uh heal the great divide, basically, and failing even to heal the person. um and so it's and so that and tied in with that, he does still think that there can be emancipation in a sense, but it's not emancipation from masters, but from mastery, I believe is what he said. Um, and the emancipation from mastery more or less means that one has the ability to um, to move between factishes as they would like to, um, and having the freedom to do that rather than being having the freedom from factishes per se. Um, yeah, that's my very high level summary of that last section. Um, do you have anything to add to that? Anything to correct?
Yeah. Oh, not anything to correct, just something to add.
Yeah.
Also that the reason for this is because when you break a factish,
Mhm.
another one will take its place. When Jagannath destroys the stone, um the people that they react mechanically. He
Mhm.
becomes angrier than Buthraya,
Mhm.
the demon god at the time, and like it goes through all these like different things. It something replaces it, and
Mhm.
because Jonathan didn't offer anything, is I guess how I take it.
Yeah.
Following from the rest of this, because he didn't offer anything. He just wanted to destroy this thing without first giving um these people something. And so with
Mhm.
nothing, with like nothing else, these almost kind of the exact same things ended up just latching onto the Jagannath,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah,
who was,
and specifically like his
trying to do good.
position. Yeah, his position
Yeah.
as the master of them, as their commander, right? Like, or as their I yeah, as their master in some sense, right? So like he debased himself, I
Yeah.
think, and in this sense, right? Like because he gave them nothing, they replaced it with, the other factishes that they already latch onto, like those of his authority over them as the master, right? Um,
Mhm.
so yeah. And from that, we get to the conclusion of chapter one, which I'm guessing is just going to more or less summarize what we've gotten through up to this point. So, um, if you're coming in at the very tail end here, uh, this will give you a sense of what you'll be getting if you go back through the other streams. So there you go. Um, and without further ado, conclusion. I have given three different meanings to the, quote, modern cult of factish gods, unquote. As is customary in critical thought, I first reused the pejorative meanings of the words fetish and worship. Once this is done, the moderns can no longer appear to be without fetishes and worship, as they have boastingly or despairingly believed. They do have a fetish, the strangest one of all. They deny to the objects they fabricate the autonomy that they have given them. Sorry. They deny to the objects they fabricate the autonomy that they have given them. They pretend they are not surpassed, outstripped by events. They want to keep their mastery, and they find its source within the human subject, the origin of action, or else, in a brutal alienation that is now familiar to us, the moderns, piqued at not being able to use human work as the explanation for action, want to kill the subject source by drowning it in various effects of language, genes, texts, fields, subconsciouses, and causalities. And there was a footnote there.
Uh,
Hmm.
I also wanted to not alienation, alternation.
Oh,
A brutal
alternation.
alternation. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Um, where was that? They want mastery. They find the source of the human subject, the origin of action, or else in a brutal alt. Yeah, in a brutal alternation that is now familiar to us. The moderns, piqued at not being able to use human work as an explanation for action, want to kill the subject source by drowning it in various effects of language, genes, texts, fields, subconsciouses, and causalities. And um this is like the critical thinker position. So it's the double denunciation. So you denounce the object, the fetish, as being created by humans, and then after that's been denounced, you then denounce the subject itself and attribute the subject to some set of facts, like I don't know, like all of these things listed here, like whatever causalities you think are the actual ones. Hello, Beat Magus. Welcome, or welcome back, I should say. I do remember you being here before. So, anyway, uh, for 80, a different theory of action focused on China can be found in Francois Julien, The Propensity of Things, toward a history of efficacy in China. This one does not coincide very well with the Westerners' theory either, for it ignores both immanence and transcendence, subjects and objects. According to Julien's interpretation, the Chinese seem to supply practice with a language that the whites have never abandoned, but that their philosophy, for interesting political reasons, has often sought to disown. Huh. I I don't really know what to say about that because I don't really know anything about this book. So this one does not, yeah, so this one, as in this theory of action, does not coincide well with Westerners' theory either, for it ignores both immanence and transcendence, subjects and objects. According to Julian's interpretation, the Chinese seem to supply practice with a language that the whites have never abandoned, but that their philosophy, for interesting political reasons, has often sought to disown. Interesting.
Yeah,
So there's like
yeah.
so they supply language with or they supply action with language that the whites have never abandoned, as in like the whites also use it, but their philosophy denounces that very language or disowns it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the language they're talking about is the ignoring of both
Mhm.
immanence and transcendent subjects and objects. Though that might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what he means.
Yes. Okay.
That makes sense to me.
All right. Anyway, continuing. Where was that? Quote, since subjects can't have the complete mastery and freedom required by the Sartrean subject, then nobody will have them again, or them ever again, unquote. They scream in anger, and they throw man himself into the rubbish heap of their broken idols. The recuperators will then go to the dump in order to cobble together a subject endowed with rights. Existentialism, structuralism, the rights of man are the successive avatars of fetish worship by people who think they are very clever because they think they have gotten rid of fetishes, beliefs, and naivete for good, whereas no one has ever believed naively in fetishes, not even them. And that's the important thing, is that um they don't believe in fetishes themselves. Uh they believe it's totally appropriate to pass between, but they say to others, no, you can't do that. What you're doing is fetishism. Um and he talked about that with the I keep forgetting the two words that he used for it, but uh like one meant like something like appropriate respect, which is,
Latria and Dulia.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Where one is reserved for God alone and the other um is
For
for
the
like,
icons.
yeah, for the icons, which are, definitely not fetishes, totally not. Yeah. So I next assigned. So this was like the first thing that he was doing. So basically, he was essentially, I think, using he was using the language he wants to move away from to show, like, to show how useless it is, or how non-descriptive it is. Um, so I next assigned a second meaning to the expressions, one that restored value and power to the words factish and worship. The hypothesis is much simpler, and in practice, the moderns have never abandoned it. The one who acts is not master of what he does or makes. Others pass into action and outstrip him. Still, this is not something that justifies drowning the subject in a sea of despair. Nowhere does there exist an acid capable of dissolving the subject. The latter receives its autonomy by giving the autonomy it does not possess to entities that come to life thanks to this conferral. The subject learns from mediation. It comes from factishes. It would die without them. If the expression seems difficult to grasp, let us compare it to the unlikely mechanism, with all its wheels and gears, contradictions, feedback loops, repairs, epicycles, dialectics, and contortions of those marionettes and puppeteers we have seen tangled up in their strings, both visible and invisible, swimming in belief, guilt, insincerity, virtuality, and illusio. Seeking to make something simpler than factishes, the moderns created something more complicated. Trying to make things more luminous, they made them more obscure. He who seeks to make an angel creates a man. Interesting. Sorry. Yeah, the subject learns from mediation. Comes from factishes. It would die without them. Right. So he's not, and it's important though that, like, the subject is not, like, pre-existent here. Um, it's it is, like, it is coming into existence through the factishes. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not as if the subject already exists and is then uh like making the factishes. No, it's simultaneous. It's mutual co-constitution. Um, and I'm guessing he's taking a cue from Nietzsche here, I'm guessing, with with the doer behind the deed, or rather the lack of a doer behind the deed. Um, yeah. The moderns have to worship factishes, mediations, and passages explicitly, since they have never had mastery over their own creations, and this is a good thing. The marionette image is justified here as long as the puppeteer is asked a few questions. And this goes to 81. Um, and let us not forget the etymology that will remind us, quite appropriately, that the French word marionette is a term of endearment for, quote, little Saint Marys, unquote, intercessory virgins par excellence. Intercessory. What does intercessory mean? I've never encountered that word before. Let me look that up on my phone. Intercessory prayer is the act of praying to God on behalf of another person or group. Huh. I see. So it's, yeah, so the French word marionette is a term of endearment for little Saint Marys, uh, intercessory virgins. So they're intercessory because it's on behalf of what we take to be the Virgin Mary, I'm guessing. But
Little Saint Mary's
mhm.
is um I think it might actually be a church, like a specific
Oh.
thing. I'm not actually sure if that's correct, but
Mhm.
I looked up Little Saint Mary's and I am getting that it is a church, but I'm not sure if this is the right church. There might be multiple, and there might be one in France. I'm getting one in England, but I'm not sure. There
Mhm.
might be one in France, and it's just called something different.
Yeah.
Just call it by the French name.
Yeah. Anyway, continuing. But yeah, the marionette image is justified here as long as the puppeteer is asked a few questions. She will tell you, as will everyone else, as will any creator and manipulator, that her marionettes dictate their behavior to her. They that they make her act, that they express themselves through her, that she could never manipulate them or mechanize them, and yet she holds them, dominates and masters them. She will straightforwardly admit that she is slightly outstripped by what she controls. Now, let us suppose that a second level puppeteer comes along and manipulates our artist. There is no lack of candidates, texts, language, the spirit of the times, the habitus, society, paradigms, epistemes, styles. Any agent will do to hold our puppeteer as she holds her puppets. But these agents, no matter how powerful you make them, will be surpassed by the puppeteer, just as she is by her puppets. She will never do better. You will never hold on more tightly. Sorry, you will. Oh, it's you will never do better. You will never do better. You will never hold on more tightly. Instead of a causal chain transmitting a force that actualizes a potential, realizes a possibility, you will never obtain more than a series of slight surpassings, events. Here is another name for the factishes and the worship they deserve. Sorry. So, but these agents, no matter how powerful you make them, will be surpassed by the puppeteer, just as she is by her puppets. Hmm. Right. So it's the idea being that like things like language paradigms, etc. Right? Like maybe there's a sense in which there's a relationship between them and the puppeteer, but just as the um just as the puppeteer is can be outpaced or outdone by the puppet can get out of hand, so to speak, and go beyond her. So too can she go beyond the whatever like causal determinants you assign to her. Um as I think what's being said here. And that makes sense, right? Like and it because otherwise like if all of these whatever we say, the habitus, society, paradigms, epistemes, styles, uh if these were all totally causally effective, then like what like what is there to analyze, I guess it would be one thing to ask, right? Like if the subject can just be simply constituted by all of these things, if it never gets out of hand, then it wouldn't be even worth analyzing, I guess. But obviously it is worth analyzing, and that's precisely because it is able to go beyond its I don't want to say antecedent conditions, because it's not an antecedent condition, right? It's um I forget the word that he used for it. um I remember discussing it earlier. uh, Let me see if I can find it real quick. um
I'm trying to remember what you mean as well.
Yeah, it was basically like it was what he wanted to replace with cause, or he wanted to replace cause with uh,
Uh, uh, uh, uh,
affordance.
fair.
Yeah,
Oh, affordance.
affordance is
Okay.
also what I was.
Yeah.
Yes, but the to do versus to let to what was it?
To make do.
To make do. Yes, right. But yes.
And then also,
Hmm.
I don't think there's going to be any reference to the figures. I don't think there is in the next sections.
Hmm.
So you can just look at the figure 8
Oh,
on this page.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just a yet another summary of the of like the double denunciation, right? So it's either fabricated or unfabricated, right? And if it's fabricated, then if fabricated, then it's illusory. Um If fabricated, then illusory. If fabricated, then illusory. Real as long as they are seen as not made. Powerful as long as they are seen as not made. Okay, wait. This table is more complicated than I.
If you read
Oh yes,
the bottom bit,
yes.
yeah.
Sorry. Knowledge and belief are distinct because the theoretical argument radically separates the fabrication top from its result bottom, and because it considers in knowledge only the bottom left, and in belief only in the top right, the two empty rectangles. The empty ones being the ones that are like full white.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not
No.
the no. Yeah, sorry, the other ones, the ones that are gray,
Okay.
the ones that are kind of like grayed out.
Fair enough. It's a little it's a little hard for me to tell because like
Yeah.
the grayed out ones are filled. They're filled with little dots, but yeah. Anyway, but instead of call yes. But yeah, and I think it's interesting that he refers to candidates, texts, language, spirits, spirit of the times, the habitus, all of these things. He also refers to these as agents. So it's not as if he's giving them no place in in the study, just that they don't suffice as full explanations, um, and that they aren't like totalizing in the same way that the subject is not totalizing in its attribution of power to the fetish. So it's not that these are useless to analyze. It's not that like we shouldn't care about them. It's just that they are not the end all be all, and that you actually have to consider them as as like constituting one another. So it's very like interactionist, I guess, in that sense. Continuing, but let us follow the whole chain. Let us suppose that there is finally some master string puller, finally some creator, an almighty being, an old fashioned God, omniscient and omnipotent. This would change nothing. He would not be able to do anything more. A creature among creatures, he would also be slightly outstripped, surpassed by what he had fabricated. He would learn from what he had created about what he is made of. He would earn his autonomy through contact with his creatures, just as we earn our bread by discovering, as we encounter other entities, something we did not know we were capable of a moment before. Behind the pump of anti fetishism hides a theology of creation, and it is quite a pitiful one, quite blasphemous. We imagine a creator God who would not be surpassed by what he makes, and who would master his creatures. Even when we deny his existence, especially when we deny it, this remains the model for action that I should like to usurp on behalf of humankind. Social constructivism is the poor man's creationism. Interesting. And then this is goes to 82. There is no This is why there is no way to criticize constructivism without criticizing the theory of action implicit in the notion, as Ian Hacking made painfully clear in The Social Construction of What. Um I'm not so I've seen him reference hacking before, but I've also seen him criticize hacking. So, um I'm not sure if this is meant to be like painfully clear in the sense that that Ian Hacking is doing the thing that he's criticizing, or if it's painfully clear in the sense that that Ian Hacking like lays out the argument in painful detail. Envy, do you have insight into that?
Sorry, it's like half paying attention because I wanted to fucking read something.
That's fine.
Where are we? Where are we?
Page 64 is what I'm on.
64. Okay. Where's the thing right before the foot? Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So what I read, the social constructivism is the poor man's creationism, and then I read the footnote that that goes to, and it was, this is why there is no way to criticize social constructivism without criticizing the theory of action implicit in the notion, as Ian Hacking made painfully clear in The Social Construction of What. And what I was saying is that I've seen Latour, uh, what's the word? Reference hacking, but I'm not 100% sure if this is an approving reference uh, or not.
I'm pretty sure it's approving
Hmm.
because he's saying um, constructivism and not social constructivism.
Yes. Okay.
As he, I'm pretty sure what he means by the theory of action is that very clearly humans make things all the time that
Hmm.
do go a little bit beyond them, like
Yeah.
well, in ways that are like really obvious.
Hmm.
It is one of those things.
Yeah,
Also,
and it's worth noting that like he does criticize hacking in other cases. So, but it they are definitely running in similar veins, I would say. Anyway, sorry, you were saying?
I was gonna say, um, we're gonna read something a little bit, good on a little side tangent,
Go for it.
about Latour, because you were talking about the explanation Latour wants.
Hmm.
Explain what explanations he does want.
Hmm.
Um, one of the things is in Aramis that is made painfully clear is that Latour does not want something that Aramis failed. It was a failed a project, and Latour doesn't want that to it doesn't want an explanation for that. That
Remind me what Aramis is.
it's PRT. It's a public personal rapid transport. It
Okay.
was these little cars
Oh.
that were kind of supposed to be automatic. They're kind of similar to do you remember this was like in like the like fucking 80s and 90s, by the way. I
Mhm.
just want clarifying this. You know Elon Musk's idea
Yeah, so
for
the
like
Hyperloop.
AI cars? It's kind of a little bit like that.
Okay,
It
interesting.
is you can kind of think of it like that almost. And it failed, and Latour was tasked to investigate why it failed, and he wrote
Hmm.
a little book afterwards about it. And in it, there's this imaginary dialogue between Professor Norbert and a young engineer,
Hmm.
and in between, there's kind of interludes which are supposed to be taken, which you kind of take as Latour reaching out to you, which but in text are supposed to be Norbert's notes.
Hmm.
And in one of them, says, he says, what is required is not to replace projects in their context, as the foolish expression goes, but to study the way the project is contextualized or decontextualized. To do that, the rigid, stuffy word context has to be replaced by the supple, friendly word network. The big explanations in terms of politics, economics, organizations, and technology always turn up without fail. It's politically unacceptable. It isn't profitable. Society isn't ready for it. It's inefficient. These explanations are always used precisely because they can't be worn out. They're not designed to explain. If that were the case, they would have to wear out in contact with the hard, contorted circumstances. Rather, they're intended to move from hand to hand and to serve like the weasel in the children's game to get rid of the problem by designating the one who failed to pay attention and got caught with the ring in his hand. And then he has a little thing. The weasel is running the political weasel. The weasel is running technological weasel. He came this way. Go back that way. The weasel is running the economic weasel. And it's supposed to be like a fucking play on a little French thing, and that's the English version of it. But yeah, it's uh, uh, explanations that can explain literally things that can explain everything that can be put on everything aren't explanations for Latour
Hmm.
because they don't explain anything. You're not explaining anything. You are because it's not important at that point.
Well, yeah,
If it
hmm for example, I actually heard this example like quite a long time ago. I don't remember exactly where, but um I'm sure, for example, that the fact that gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, roughly, has had a profound effect on the development of our civilization. But also, it would be really weird and kind of silly to say that like gravity is the cause of all of these all of the different things that have happened in our civilization, because it is literally always operative. Like you can always find some way in which gravity is related, but it's because it's so totalizing, because it could always serve as some kind of explanation. There's no reason to apply it um to a given like field, uh that is like not a given field, but to like the social field, in the way that in the way that some people apply things like these broad concepts of society, economics, uh
Um,
whatever, right? Hmm?
or for Latour, one of the other big things is even simply the budget office in I forget if it's in that region or if it's in France as a whole. I think it's in France as a whole.
Hmm.
The budget office at the time was kind of really stingy with its money. I think it only donated to like aeronautics programs, and so public transport wasn't really something that they donated a lot to. But to put it on the budget office is also wrong because, well, the budget office, even though the budget office was a factor,
Hmm.
may have been like some factor, uh, may have like caused some like troubles. Um, Transportation projects like worked and others failed, and so can't really say it's the budget office then because it's not just the but clearly there's more going on than just the budget office and the successes or the failures of these things.
Hmm. And I think that like this is like a this is another thing where a lot of times it seems like when you want to give an explanation for something, there's a uh, there's a sense in which you are trying to use that explanation to bring attention to a problem that you think exists, and not necessarily because it is like a totalizing explanation, right? So
Yeah.
if somebody wants to say, somebody who says like it's all the budget office's fault, um there's a sense in which they might just be trying to bring attention to something that they feel is not being addressed, and they're using this as an example of the way in which it's not being addressed. Like they think the budget office should be giving out more money, and they say, see, because they didn't give out more money, this project failed. um and I guess, and I don't know how to feel about that, because there is kind of a selective ignoring going on, right? You can point to all of these other causes, all of these other, or I causes is not the right word, but all of these other like connections. But
Yeah.
is that at a certain point, explanation has to come to an end, right? And and if we're trying to figure out what we should be doing, why did it fail? And presumed in that question is like, how do we prevent things in the future from failing similarly? The explanation has to stop somewhere, right? And
Latour is a very interesting answer to that question,
go for it.
and it's that your your own writing will be constrained by whatever you're doing. In based on the social, but this is the same thing that the student asked. It's like, but my explanation isn't in somewhere, and he's like, yeah, you only have so much you can do. You're probably only given so much time, so you have to write within that limited time.
Hmm.
Of course, it'll come to an end. You just have to choose. You just have to. You are constrained. You will stop. You will have to stop, and you have to make some choices in between there. Just do what you think is kind of basically just do what you think is best
Yeah.
in that situation.
No, and it's fair. I think that, yeah, it's completely fair, I think, and it's just like the we probe as long as our curiosity isn't satisfied, and wherever uh and wherever that may be, it's going to be different for different people. Different
Yeah.
people are going to be satisfied with different levels of explanation, uh and that's okay. So anyway, continuing on, uh but there is no more creation by a source god than there is construction by a source human. Clerics, seeking to humble man's pride in his power to construct, may resort to the great trick of a creator god, but they are just as mistaken as the freedmen, uh, who claim to be cutting all the ties and to be masters, without any masters above them, of what they fabricate, which lies beneath them. Really, is an engineer master of his machine? Was Pasteur master of his lactic acid? Is a programmer master of his program, a creator of his creation, an author of his text? No one has ever truly acted. No one who has ever truly acted could utter such impieties. It is because God is a creature and because our creations possess, in relationship to ourselves, as much autonomy as we possess in relationship to God, that we can continue to use the words construction and creation without lying. If we go to 43, discoveries in theology are rare. But Whitehead's discovery of the creature god certainly counts as one. Indeed, for Whitehead, it was less a matter of discovering than of understanding, through a different language, what everybody had already understood in a different way. Whitehead's God is incarnate. Quote, all actual entities share with God this characteristic of self causation. For this reason, every actual entity also shares with God the characteristic of transcending all other actual entities, including God. And this is from Process and Reality, an essay in cosmology. To believe that God will now submerge himself among his creatures is to keep on repeating the same mistake. Creatures are not immanent. Mediations, events, passages, and factishes can be used neither for drowning nor for dissolving, but only for producing. They come to pass. They differ. I'm not really sure what what Whitehead is on about here. Um I don't know what is the creature god? Do you know?
I have no clue, but I have guesses.
Okay.
Um,
I'd love to hear your guesses.
um, I assume what Whitehead is getting at, based on some stuff I've read from Latour, is that um, fuck. All right, I have to go to the part of the book now because I was watching your stream to look at it.
Oh,
Let's see,
sorry. Wait.
It's probably like
I'll
140.
bring it back up.
No,
No rush.
I got it up. Got it up.
But yes, it's
Um,
141
what
is
was I
where.
saying? Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Um, what Whitehead. I actually wonder if Whitehead is actually getting to a similar point. Um, um, as Latour. I don't know if he uses the Bible at all.
Hmm.
Uh, but it explicitly says, created God's own image, and I wonder if he kind of takes that. Whitehead takes that to a more I guess extreme
Gotcha.
than other things, and so with that, we also have the power of creation, of
Hmm.
giving things life and these other things, and I wonder if that's
It is
where he's going
because
with it.
God is a creature and because our creations possess in relationship to ourselves as much autonomy as we possess in relationship to God that we can continue to use the words construction and creation without lying. And then chatter Jordan KB9WT says random thought, in some sense we were created by our parents. Um there are many senses in which that's true. Uh, I'm not sure where you're trying to go with that. To ultimate parent would be the last to ultimate parent would be the last universal. Oh, the ultimate. I'm guessing it means the ultimate parent. The ultimate parent would be the last universal common ancestor. Well, common ancestor in what sense? Um, because you can put that chain of causality like back as far as you want. Like even before, uh, you could go back pre-cellular, right? Um, but uh before there was even RNA. I think RNA was or was I because I know that there were self-replicating proteins before there were cells. Um, or at least that's what's hypothesized at any rate. But like we could go back to self-replicating proteins as a common ancestor, or we could go back to the molecules that make those up, or even further back, um, if we
Does
want.
mean something, Sim. I'm pretty sure he does mean. I looked up the passage
Hmm.
in the book Process and Reality, and I'm pretty sure he does mean. The next section is um the universe is thus a creative advance in novelty. The alternative to this doctrine is a static morphological universe. And I assume if I looked up what quasi su means in the previous sentence, I would understand
Yeah,
what it what it means. Cause of itself or self God. Oh, it literally is that.
yeah, it's
Uh,
self-cause.
yeah, I'm pretty sure what he's what he's getting at is like God, we also um add things to the universe. Then I think that's what he means, or something like that.
Hmm.
There's something to that. This is literally like like towards the end of the like towards like the second third second
Yeah,
third sorry the third like the final third of the book. It's
yes.
actually towards like literally the final third of this book, and so it's kind of hard to tell where
Hmm.
exactly he's going, especially since this is in the middle. This is section 3 of the chapter we're on,
Gotcha.
and so I assume there was some this of the section it's on, so probably a little bit more to it, but that's what I make of it so far.
Gotcha. Anyway, continuing. Yeah, so it is because God is a creature and because our creations possess in relationship to ourselves as much autonomy as we possess in relationship to God that we can continue to use the words construction and creation without lying. If we have needed the complicated machinery of determinism, freedom, and grace for so long, it may be because we have not understood factishes. The slogan, neither God nor master, should not be reserved for anarchists. It should also be engraved on the pedestals of the invisible, broken, and mended statues that allow action on all fronts. There may well be events, but no one is their master, especially not God. Despite the Vulgate, the term ex nihilo does not designate the primary matter animated by the demiurge, but the little threshold, the inevitable gap in all mediated action that precisely renders demiurgic action possible, since each event
Impossible.
impossible, sorry. That yes, that precisely renders demiurgic action impossible. Let me I need to remember what the demiurge is because I know that like Hegel uses that term, but yes, a being often portrayed as a craftsman or artisan responsible for fashioning the physical universe. Okay. So demiurgic action would be like that of the all-powerful God that fashions the
Yeah.
universe. Yes. Yes. Um But yes, despite the Vulgate, the term ex nihilo does not designate the primary matter animated by the demiurge, but the little threshold, the inevitable gap in all mediated action that precisely renders demiurgic action impossible, since each event exceeds its conditions and hence exceeds its artificer. Whether we assert that Saint John, quote, at the beginning there was the maid what? At the beginning there was the made to speak, that is to say the verb. What? At the beginning there was the made to speak, that is to say the verb. Is there like a typo here, or am I just not? Is this just like an old
I'm
phrasing
pretty
that
sure.
I don't understand?
I'm pretty. Yeah. I'm no. I'm pretty sure this is correct.
Okay. Okay, maybe the like made to speak is a noun. So is at the beginning there was the made to speak, as in the things that were
Yeah.
made to speak, and that is to say the verb. Okay. Or with goeth, at the beginning there was the made to do. Yeah, okay, yes. That is to say action. In each case, there is no creator in a position to dominate his creation drawn ex nihilo. As powerful as one might imagine a creator, he will never be capable of better controlling his creations than the puppeteer her puppets, a writer her notebooks, a cigarette its smoker, a speaker her language. Mhm. He can make them do something, but he cannot make them. To launch a cascade of irreversible events, yes. To be master of his tools, no. In believing that we were venerating the Creator, God, humanity, subject, or society, we chose, by a cruel deviation from theology, to idolize mastery as an ideal of detachment from everything that brought it into action. The expression ex nihilo doesn't signify that the artisan creates something out of nothing, but that the ensemble of prior conditions is never actually sufficient to determine action. What the word ex nihilo annihilates is the master's delusional pretension to mastery, and what is true for God is even truer for man. There is only one perfume whose fragrance is agreeable to the Creator, that of surprise in beholding events that he does not control, but which he makes happen. The passage from nothingness to being, or from being to nothingness, has no part in the story, no more significant a part than the sudden swing from a careless freedom to a panicked fear of all forms of attachment from Mafalda's father. Um, is being to nothingness and nothingness to being. Is this an intentional reference to Heidegger? I believe. Um,
I think so.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we would seriously misunderstand the redoubling inherent in the fair, the to make do. Right? Is the fair?
Yes.
Yes. So inherent in the making do, if we contented ourselves with stacking a second myth about creation on a first myth about creation. To use the word fair signifies, on the contrary, that we wish to abandon completely the ideal of making, as well as its unfortunate quote unquote misdeeds. Quote, should we allow jinns to be imported? Unquote. Toby Nathan asks, and this is the third and last meaning I have given my title. The migrants wander through the suburbs and even in Paris with their divinities, but the worship of their factish gods is indeed fully of our time, since they live at once uprooted and rerooted. In any case, this worship looks nothing like the cults of their past. The migrants have reconfigured the wisdom of the passage for us, stubbornly refusing to believe in their own gods, while we stubbornly believed that they were naively worshiping raw material and that we had left belief behind, entering into knowledge. Ethnopsychiatry may heal them, and so much the better. I am not in a position to judge. But the migrants heal us, at all events, and to do that I can attest. They entertain entities in multiple, interesting, fragile states without demanding that they stubbornly persist or that they stem from our psychology. Thus, they fray for us the difference between fabrication and reality, mastery and creation, constructivism and realism. They pass while talking endlessly, whereas we can only pass by hinting. They allow us to grasp more precisely our own sciences and technologies, fabrications that we might have thought they knew nothing about or were dominated by. I find more accuracy in my lactic acid ferment if I shine the light of the candomblé divinities on it. In the common world of comparative anthropology, lights cross paths. Differences are not there to be respected, neglected, or subsumed, but, as Whitehead said, to act as lures for feeling, food for thought. And thus, we have finished the first chapter, which honestly looks to be about half of the book, actually, based on
Yes, it is.
where the scrolling is. So, um, yeah.
The book, not including the footnotes, is I think like 130 pages, 125 pages. No, it is like 120 pages.
Oh, so we're even more than halfway done because this is page
Yeah.
66. So,
Yeah, we're a little more than halfway done, yeah.
well then,
Uh,
um, so that got. I mean, the concluding section is a little poetic, so it's a little hard for me to like completely follow it. But I think it's just more or less wrapping everything up, right? So he's covering the three different like ways in which he talked about the factishes. Um, that those of being like the fetish of the moderns, and then moving from that language that he wants to get past, he begins to talk about like the double denunciation, and then finally in terms of the deities, all of which are like the three meanings that he has given to factishes. Um, but yeah, so differences are not there to be respected, neglected, or subsumed, but as Whitehead said, to act as lures for feeling, food for thought. Um, what does he mean by this? Differences are not there to be respected, neglected, or subsumed. So respect, but to act as lures for feeling. So is he talking about like differences? Like differences are there to be, I guess, built upon or to like be generative in some sense. Um,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's probably it. What he means by respected is by the person going,
Hmm.
ah, you know, there is this great divide, and that's all good.
Yeah. So like
And
like the cultural relativist uh
yeah,
from earlier, right? Where it's, you know, by they respect the beliefs, quote unquote respect the beliefs of the people that they are talking about, but it's kind of like a almost like a what's the word I'm looking? It's a condescending kind of respect, right? Because it still positions them as above it and able to see the relativity where others don't, you know?
yeah.
So, but what he wants to say is that the differences are there to be to be generative of something that they and this would I guess be the surpassing of their causes. Um yeah. Anyway, um that is it for the Latour that I was
Fuck.
going to do
Wait a
today.
second. Wait a
What?
second. He's doing the fucking line from Politics of Nature.
Okay, go for it. Go
Um,
for it. Explain.
hold on, wait, no, no, before you stop.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
I just realized he's literally doing this is what that is. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Um, um, is it just difference? Fuck, when was it? Fuck. It was it wasn't this, it was this one. It was a strangeness. I think this is it. I think this is the line. Let's see. The feeling of strangeness that another culture provokes is of interest only if it leads one to reflect on the strangeness of one's own. Otherwise, it degenerates into exoticism, Orientalism, Occidentalism, and that's the line.
Yeah.
It's you you don't simply talk about strangeness. You don't simply feel something is strange or different to you.
Mhm.
It you use strangeness to understand your own strangeness and to reflect on your own strangeness. Uh,
No, for sure. Yeah. No,
it's
and that would be its lures for feeling, it's food for thought,
yeah
right? It's like,
yeah
yeah. Okay.
yeah. No, it reminds me of fucking Flusser.
Mhm.
Flusser, one of my other guys.
Yeah, I still don't know anything about Flusser. Excuse me.
Flusser's really good. Flusser's really good.
Well, if you
Vampire Tooth is really complicated, and
Mhm.
it's fucking a lot. But soon I will be getting the Flusseriana, which I spent fucking $88 on
Jeez.
for this one book because I can't find it online. And I'm pretty sure it's because it's like only really available in Europe. So it's
Wow.
been fucking $88
It's
on a
sorry,
fucking
the
book.
Flusseriana, is that what you said it was called?
Yeah, it's called Flusseriana. And it's literally just a book that goes over all of Flusser's terms.
How do you
What is this?
spell that?
I'll type it in chat. Flusseriana, and then there's a little. It's this.
Flusseriana and intellectual toolbox?
Yeah, I forgot one of the A's at the end. There. Let's actually spell Flusseriana. Yeah, that's what it's called. Literally just.
Okay, I see. Right. I found a PDF of the introduction, but um
Yeah. I was searching for a fucking while and I was like just couldn't find jack shit. And so I was just like, let me fucking buy it.
no, it's fair. Is it a physical book?
Yes. Get
Okay.
the physical book. So it's
Well,
gonna take a while, sadly, but it's not gonna be until like another week or two. Hopefully, I'm hoping it comes the time it says it will, but
yeah. Well,
really hoping.
in any case, today I think that's going to be it actually. I do not feel like starting gender trouble today. So I will just be going, I think. Um but yeah, thank you.
Gender Trouble is a lot. Uh,
hmm Have you read it
fucking
before?
yeah. Um, Judith Butler writes like Foucault, and that kind of makes her really like. Well, I guess how
Them.
Foucault reads in English. Yeah, yeah, them. How Foucault writes in English, and that makes them really hard to read for extended periods of time.
I can understand that. Honestly, I didn't have as much trouble as I thought I would. Um, I I actually quite like that Butler. Uh, what's the word? Butler asks a lot of questions. Um, that actually help me understand. So like, they will have paragraphs which are just like 6 or 7 questions one after the other, um and and it helps me to like get the direction that they're going. Um,
It's uh,
I
it's
don't know.
it's easier after a while, but
It
I
could also
started off
go for it.
reading Thayer's, and Thayer's writes in a very particular way. He writes a lot like Latour does.
Hmm.
In a lot of ways, I think they kind of have a little bit of a similar style in that they are like um they both feel like they're kind of just writing out their thoughts to you, almost like quite like just like literally. And some in a lot of places it feels like you are almost just engaged in like an active conversation with them
Hmm.
um
No,
when you're
I
reading what they write. And so and with and also they joke with you, and so it makes things, and they don't just like joke to joke. They also joke. Most of their jokes, I can't remember one off the top of my head, usually serve some point. They're like something for the text itself to add to it, not
yeah.
just to take away from it.
I mean, if nothing else, it makes it more memorable to me, at least.
Yeah.
Um, like social constructivism is the poor man's creationism is a brutal line, absolutely brutal, brutal line. Like, and and yeah. But anyway,
Of that line.
I shall be going now. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Quarantine Collective, for rating. Um, I will see you all later. Um, and we will begin with chapter 2. What is Iconoclash? The Iconoclash, or is there a world beyond the Image Wars? But
I have
for
a
now,
feeling that this next section will not take us very long.
perhaps not. But yeah. Anyway, take care, everybody. Goodbye.